Hi friends, and welcome to my channel. As per your request, this is my Traveler's Notebook process video. This is a pocket-sized Traveler's Notebook where I watched Bonna's video from Live Love Scrap, and she had mentioned to do a template, and that is exactly what I did. So before anything else, I'd like to let you know that you need to do a template, especially if you're going to make a couple of these. And not even if you make a couple of these, even if it's your very first one, please make yourself a template. Things will go so much easier if you do. Okay, and this is a template that I created using just regular crafting paper from a 12 by 12 sheet. Now, the measurement for your template and your traveler's notebook is going to be as following. For the cover, you're going to need to trim your paper to 5.5 by 11 inches. And the notebooks themselves, which is another ordeal that I went through that I will give you my honest opinion on, okay, on what I used for these. For the notebooks themselves, you're going to need to trim your notebook covers to 5.25 by 7.25 inches. Once you have your paper trimmed to 5.5 by 11, you're going to do some scoring. You're going to lay it down horizontally on your scoring board, and then you're going to score at 3.5, and then 3 1/8, and then 4 1/4, and then 4 5/8. See, there you go. And I will go ahead and leave you these measurements in the description area below of the video. I'm just explaining these measurements to you now so that way later on when you go to the description area and read it off, it'll make sense. Okay, so you have scored these score marks. Then on the very same board, you're going to move over and you are going to be scoring at 8 1/8, then 8 1/2, then 8 7/8, and then 9 1/4. And as I had stated in my previous video where I showed you this TN, don't mark any holes here or any holes here. These holes are a mistake, so don't pay too much attention to these holes, okay? This is what we want to focus on. Here is where we want to puncture our holes, not here. Okay, so now once we have our score marks, how I did the holes over here is pretty easy, okay? Now, you're going to need something like this mat to help you along and a ruler. Okay, here's my ruler. The ruler that I like to use is Shelly's ruler. She came up with this ruler. It is J&S Hobbies and Crafts.com. Okay, and I guess I'll go ahead and link you to Shelly's website in the description area below. Now, what's different about this ruler is, and I hope that you can see this. Let me back it up against this. Okay, I hope that you can see this. What I love about this ruler, and this is my go-to ruler for measuring, is that it has all the 1/8 measurements and all the 16th measurements right along there. Okay, you no longer have to go in and count the dashes to see what's what, because she has already done all the work for you. Okay, there, I hope that y'all can see that. And so yeah, and her rulers are fairly priced. They're not expensive at all, and I highly recommend that you get yourself one of these, because I tell you, this is my go-to ruler. I keep it right behind me in my little on the little pockets on my door, if you've seen my room tour, my craft room tour. And so this is so, I use this all the time, okay, all the time. I keep it by me all the time. So, okay, moving along to here. Now, what we do as far as the holes, you're going to get your pen or whatever, okay, and you are going to go in you're going to position your cardstock in such a way that it's nice and neat. I always like nice and neat lines. And so you're going to go in and put a mark in between the score marks. You have made your score marks, and now you want to go in between your score marks as best as you can, and you're going to go in about a quarter of an inch actually. You're going to go in and you place your mark there. Over here you go in and you place your mark there, and see how with your mat you can kind of line them up as best as you can. Okay, so you can place your mark there, place your mark there. Same thing here. You go in about a quarter of an inch, place your mark there. Over here, a quarter of an inch, place your mark there, and place your mark there. Now, what I did to make it simple for me, because sometimes I cannot see straight, okay, what I did then is I went back with my ruler and I tried to align this as best as I can, okay? We're still working with a template, okay? I aligned it as best as I could, and then I went to my mark here, my mark there, and then I just drew a straight line following my guide marks over here and over here for my mat, and I did the same thing here and the same thing here. So now that you have your marks here and you have your lines here, I took an extra step, and then I took my ruler horizontally and I lined it up against my guide marks on my mat, okay, so that I could do a perfect line here and also a perfect line over here. And then I knew that where the perpendicular lines were, you know, where this line meets this line, that was the spot where I was to puncture a hole, okay, and I used my crocodile for this. So that is exactly how I got these to work for me. So now that you have your template, you can use this template to puncture your holes over here on this cardstock, okay? So yes, I highly recommend that you go about and you do your template first, okay? So now that that's done, and let's go ahead and do that, we're gonna work with the very same cardstock that I worked with on this traveler's notebook. So first thing that we gotta do is we have to trim this piece to, let's see, what does it say? 5.5 by 11. Now, it's your call, but I think that it's better if you use double-sided paper or double-sided cardstock. So that way, when you open up your book, your traveler's notebook, I'm sorry, you will have a nice design on the inside as well. Now, here's another thing that I've done that I didn't point out to you. What about this part over here? Okay, over here on this, let me put this to the side. Okay, see this hole right here? You can go ahead and add that to your template, and once again, you're going to line it up against your mat if you have a mat, or you can use a ruler. And you go in, you find where the center of your template is, and then you're going to go in a quarter of an inch, okay, and you're going to mark a spot right there so you can punch your hole. Because I wanted my pocket-sized traveler's notebook to be very ladylike, and I didn't want to mess with elastics at the center and everything, I chose not to do this center piece on here. Even though I did puncture it at the last moment, I decided that I could use velcro, which is exactly what I've done here. This is velcro, and this is the closing part to it, and you can easily do that if you wish. Or you can string your elastic through here and close it like a traditional traveler's notebook. But I just wanted to point that out to you. You have a choice, okay? And I really like the Velcro closure better because that's just one less thing that I have to mess with. And I didn't want to, I wanted this to look real pretty and all, so I really didn't want the elastic to mess that up for me. So, okay. And I don't think I'm going to do a hole at the center over here, but now that we have this piece cut, we're going to go ahead and we are going to score it. Okay, we're going to score at 3.5, then 3 7/8, so that's right there, then 4 1/4, and 4 5/8. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that one's this blue mark right here. Am I right? Yep, I did it right. Okay. So we're still facing the same direction and everything, and we're going to go over here to 8 1/8, which is this mark right here. Okay. And now we're going to do 8.5. And now we're going to do 8 7/8, which is this mark right there. And 9 1/4, which is that mark right there. So here we have our score marks. Okay. So before we run it through the laminating machine, you're going to want to take your template that you just built, and let me just use some paper clips to ensure that it holds us straight. Okay, and now we're going to get our hole punch, and we are going to punch through here. And if you wish, alrighty, you're going to punch through here. Now there's a reason why we do this before we put it through the laminator. Because if you don't punch your holes before you put it through your laminator, you know how when you cut your laminator, once it's laminated, you're going to trim off any excess piece. You're no longer going to have the exact measurements, okay? So it makes sense to me to do it twice, because we're going to trim our holes here once, okay? We're going to run it through the laminator, and of course it closes up the holes, but at least through the laminator you're going to see where the holes are, and again you're going to punch them again right exactly where they show. Okay, I guess that'll make more sense to you as we do this. So let me grab my hole punch. What we're going to be using is the side that says 1/8. In other words, the skinnier one. Okay, because we have one that's not so skinny and then a skinny one. We're going to use the one from the 1 1/8. Those are the that was the size that we punched on here. So let's go ahead and align it. Okay, that is one side. Okay, and that's the other side. Alrighty, remember we don't do anything here. This is just Sandy's mistake. And if you wish, now you can go ahead and do a hole, punch a hole right along there. But remember, for me, I'm not going to do that. So let me warm up the laminating machine so we can run this cardstock through the laminator. So while my laminator is warming up, let me talk to you a little bit about this laminator right here. I have just the plain regular Scotch brand laminator, and I'm very happy with it. I was on the fence on getting a laminator for the longest time because I didn't know whether or not I would use it. Okay, I thought, oh well, yeah, I'll just buy traveler's notebooks and instead of making my own, because in the past I had such a hard time making them from scratch. And I tell you what, crafting for me is a passion, and when you have the necessary tools for crafting, that is amazing. And the thing is, this laminator right here doesn't have to cost you that much. And when I make my traveler's notebooks, I don't make them to sell them. Okay, as you know, I never ever sell anything that I make, and everybody, all my friends tell me, Sandy, you need to start selling stuff, don't just give it away. And what I do is I make stuff and I give it away. Okay, and the reason why I make things is because I like everybody else, I work hard, I work all day long, and to me, paper crafting is a stress reliever, and it's such a wonderful feeling to be able to do something from scratch, especially when you have all the necessary tools. So I went ahead and got myself this Scotch laminator, and I tell you, ever since I bought it, I have been using it and using it time and time and time again, and you find so many different uses for it. So if you don't already own a laminator, I will do my best to find a very inexpensive one online, and I will link you to that in the description area below. Now, here's what I've learned about laminators. The machine itself doesn't have to be expensive. It's not expensive at all. What can get to be a little bit on the pricey side is the actual laminating pouches, or sheets. That's where the money is spent. So I'm just letting you know that ahead of time. The laminating sheets that I have, the pouches, are these, okay, and I paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $20, I believe, for this pack, and this was either at Walmart or at Target, I don't remember. But yeah, the laminating machine itself, it doesn't cost you that much. You're going to be spending money on this, okay? I'm just letting you know that ahead of time. And it's very easy to use a laminating machine, and let's see, it comes like so, and basically what you're going to do is you are going to open it up, and you're going to have to work at opening them up, especially if you have nails like me. And so yeah, you open it up, and then you're going to try and do your best to align this right along here. Okay, and so let me see if I could do this for you. Now, it does take a while to heat up, and right now I have it under the 5-minute heating. And yeah, another thing, once you turn this on, you don't want to mess with it too much because it's going to get hot. Okay, and you don't want any accidents. And use this away from the kids and the grandkids, okay? Because you know how kids are. They wanna touch everything. They wanna do what you're doing, but I promise you, you will have some very unhappy hands if they happen to touch this laminating machine once it's hot. Alrighty, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our best to put this as far as it allows us to go, and right around there. Okay, so now that our laminating machine is ready, we are going to run this through the laminator, ensuring that we place it exactly within the guidelines. Now, please remember, if there are any children or grandchildren in the room, they're going to want to reach for this. Do not allow them to do that because this is going to come out hot. Okay, and there it is. There you have it. We have laminated our pocket-sized traveler's notebook. Alrighty, and I'm going to let this cool off for a moment, and then we're just going to trim around the edges. Okay, so now that we've trimmed around the edges, and remember, we're going to be using this as a pocket. So we're going to put this to the side, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at our holes, and then we are going to go ahead and puncture our holes once again. Okay, so at this point, and this is your call, if you have one of these corner chompers, a strong one, then you can go ahead and round off your corners over here. I don't have one strong enough that will cut through the plastic, so I'm not going to do that. Alrighty, and then the next thing that we want to do is we want to fold along our score marks. Make some nice folds. Okay, that's one side. Oops. There's the other. Alrighty. And we have our base. A nice base for our pocket-sized traveler's notebook. Alrighty, now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to string this. Let me find my elastic, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to string our traveler's notebook, and I know I keep calling it string, and I apologize. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I don't want you to think that you can use regular string. You're going to need to use elastic, okay? And give yourself plenty of room. Alrighty, when using the elastic, I went ahead and I unraveled it from here. And so we're going to begin with our pocket-sized traveler's notebook facing us in the direction that we're going to use it. So open it up. We're going to go to the very bottom, the very last hole to your right at the bottom, and you're going to begin on the outside. Okay? String it from the outside. Give yourself about that much. Then bring it back out here. Okay? Then we are going to go to the next one. Alrighty. And you might want to hold it like so. Right now, it doesn't really matter for you to tighten it up. You will do that later in just a bit. And you're going to go down this way. And then you're going to come here, like so. And then up this way. Then you're going to come here, like so. Okay? And we are going to meet back in the middle. Let me see if I can, there we go. just like so. Okay, so now we have these strings, okay, and you can start kind of like making them a bit taut if you wish. Right along there. Let's pull on here to make that a little bit taut. Okay, so now we have this. We're going to take our handy dandy scissors, alrighty, and cut some right along there. Okay, we're going to move into the middle, right along there. It's okay if you lose your tightness. Now, this is the point in which you're going to start measuring the tension that you want to use. You want it to have some tension, but not so tight that when you insert your notebooks or your inserts, it's going to be too tight. Let's see. This one, I want it a little bit tight. Okay. And this is something, the tension is something that as you make, after your first one, you will be able to tell how much tension you need to give your traveler's notebook. You don't want it to be too tension. You don't want it to give it too much tension, because then it's gonna kind of look funny over here. Okay, just enough to hold the notebook so that they don't fall out of place, but not too much. So we're gonna go there, and we're gonna do another knot. There. There we go. Okay, so we have our knots. And once you are satisfied with your knots, okay, go ahead and trim it. So trim it here, and trim it there. Okay. And that is pretty much it. Alrighty? Now, for the closure, like I said before, I'm going to be using some velcro, and let me show you the velcro that I use. This is just regular run-of-the-mill velcro dots that you can get at any Notions store, or even a hardware store sometimes. So I like to use, for something like this, let me see what we have. Okay, I like to use the ones that have the clear backing. Okay, so let me first kind of like try and locate the middle, which will be right about there, I believe. Okay, and it's going to be right around there, and that is where I will do my closure. And now I'm going to take the clear side, and I'm going to Velcro it in there. Alrighty, it's nice and Velcroed in, and now I peel off the sticker. Alrighty, once the sticker is peeled off, let me put in a couple of notebooks from there, and then later we will discuss the notebooks that I made. Just a couple of notebooks to kind of see how we want it closed. And I think we want it closed right around there. Yeah, right along there. Just kind of press like this with your hand in there. Just kind of press so that it sticks. Now, there we go. We got our Velcro, our clear Velcro right there, and the other one, the white one right there, and it's going to stick just like so. Okay, so now for the notebooks. I thought I would use the We Are Memory Keepers machine for this, and let me show you how it came out. I'm not happy with it, okay, even though it's a crafting machine. It obviously doesn't have the strength, the needles, or however, you know, the thing goes up and down, bobs up and down, or whatever. It just doesn't have the strength to go through several layers of paper. So I just need to let you all know that if you think you can use your We Are Memory Keepers machine, you can if you want to, okay? Just don't expect it to work as well as if you are sewing just one sheet. And I do have a sample of just one sheet on here. Let me see where it went. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about the machine itself or the manufacturer. I love We Are Memory Keepers. I love their products. I just need to let you all know that this, even though it's only a notebook with 10 sheets, that's it, okay, it did a horrible job in the stitching, alrighty? A horrible job. But if you're just gonna sew one sheet of paper for like a card or a shabby chic look or whatever, okay, this is how it sews. Now over here, right along here is where I switch the size, but this is on a larger zigzag, alrighty, and that is on a smaller zigzag, and this is on a straight line. So, and let me show you what the back looks like. Okay, the back doesn't look very pretty, but then again, it's the back. Okay, so that was just a sample to show you what it could look like. And for the third notebook, what I'll be doing is I'll be using the We Are Memory Keeper stapler to see whether or not it'll come out prettier with that. So let's take our one notebook. See, and I've told you in previous videos, I'm horrible at making the actual inserts. So that's one. And over here, we could actually put 2 inserts if we wanted to. Okay. You know, for this one and this one, a total of 4 inserts. And over here, I will probably do like a little pocket thing. So, yeah, that is pretty much it. And then you get to decorate it. You can hot glue some stuff over here, just like I did here, and just make it look pretty. Make yourself some beads. And when you make yourself some beads, you can work them right around the elastic. And, yeah, it'll look real pretty. And use the leftover, this leftover plastic to make your pockets, see? And you can decorate your sheets. Okay, and that is pretty much it. Thank you so very much for joining me. I will see you once again in my next video. Bye!